It was motion time at the end of Game 3, and that is how Tempo Storm was able to maintain their status in this best of 5. They're still down 2-1, and we're going to Towers of Doom, chosen by Tempo Storm. Superstars picking first pick after that difficult loss on Tomb.
Towers of Doom is a map that Superstars used to be a bit more comfortable picking up, but it dropped in priority at the later stages of phase number 1. Now into phase 2, I feel like that's got to be a pretty big advantage for Tempo Storm. We are past now what is the maps where you should assume Superstars to be overly confident there over a team like Tempo Storm, and now it's kind of, they'll be on the slight back foot here. I have a hard time gauging what we're going to experience here for this final game. After the last one being that close, Tempo being so passive again through the earlier laning phases, but then the team fights were so close across the board. Some miracle plays made by the side of Superstars. I mean, let's be real. The entire back end, 8 minutes, was just watching Superstars doing what should not be possible.
Yeah. Yeah, a ton of those fights, finding picks, hooks, fishing hooks landing, and follow up the hungry stitches twice. Super impactful, although at the end having to sacrifice himself and then not being there for the initial defense of the Web Weavers. Even still, it was some good stuff, and I think it's possible we get another Stitches, or at least we're definitely going to see Medivh somewhere in this draft.
Absolutely. Towers of Doom, it's very unlikely he goes through. So much so that this was Tempo's pick. I would expect the burdens on them to get the ban out, because Hosi is very comfortable, willing to first pick that. So unless there's a major strategic advantage into letting it go through, I mean, I expect it to be banned out, honestly.
And more Dahaka Malthael focus for Superstars, maybe a Tassadar if they can't get... They'll be trying to get a Shielder of some capacity, probably. We've seen Abathur from them. We have seen Tassadar from them with a Tas Lunara type of composition, and then Medivh too. So it's all about what is still available for them after those couple of bans.
I'm thinking about the Medivh. Is there a world where Superstars is willing to risk that? Because I feel like if you're Superstars and you went 2-up in this series, I know you aren't boasting with confidence, but you got to be feeling good about the situation. And that last game, Medivh did have a very big impact to a lot of the times that you were trying to make something happen. So are you 100% willing to first pick it? And if so, if you weren't, I feel like you had to ban it.
Yeah, I see Superstars being one of the few 100%
I
think
so too. I think so too. I'm just scared that they aren't. You know, because they banned the Genji, and now I'm just like, I almost don't want this 43 seconds to go up, because then I have another 60 where I have more anxiety, and it could not be a Medivh. Tempo might just rid of those 60 seconds, though. They could ban it. Or do they
either
ban the
that,
Abathur?
or they know that Medivh and Tas would still be up. They could potentially get Tas Tracer, maybe.
It's taken a while.
Man, Force of Will would still be able to do a lot versus Pulse Bombs, so maybe instead they want an Abathur. But granted, Genji's already been banned, so they can't have a double Genji. 5 seconds.
It's got to be Abathur. ETC.
Okay.
Superstars. What is it? We've talked about it. I don't even have much to say about it. To Medivh or not to Medivh? We're already 5 seconds deep.
You don't think it's going to happen? Tas changes things.
He does. There are so many things left up in this draft. I have no idea where they're going to go. Like, it's just, it's so rare that we see this, but it shows the tenseness of this series for these teams to get into this kind of quarrel into the draft. You're worried about Dahaka, Abathur, Malthael, main warriors now that you banned out ETC, and getting your Rhaegar. There's like 50 things to be concerned about, and Superstars is about to isolate 2 more picks and then ban 1 more. This is one of the cases where we've been talking about the theory behind first and second pick advantages. This is one of the cases where first pick is advantageous, when there is a surplus of strong things that nobody feels one is too heavily weighted in a different direction, because you get a absurd amount of heroes to influence before your opponents get to pick anything past 2. Again, because it is these next 2 and then another ban 3 are going to be influenced, whereas Tempo Storm only gets to influence 1.
Malthael and Nubarak, superstars now, if they want Lucio, need to pick it here as the sound barrier against that Malthael. Unless Tempo Storm is fully focused on warriors and they want to try to ban that again in the next ban phase. But then there's also Tracer, if superstars don't get Tracer here. Is Tracer what superstars want to do with this Tassadar? Before, when they've had Tassadar on Towers of Doom, it's been more about Tas Lunara. But we've seen Hosty play Tracer before, right?
I believe so. I believe we've seen him play Tracer. If an Abathur is picked, the only other character that can go with it has to be an Illidan. Once you pick up the Tassadar, I feel like there's nobody else who gets it.
Lucio.
Lucio goes in, into Haka. So nothing shown. This one's stumping me. I feel like I'm missing something here. I'm not quite sure why. I'm not quite sure what. But something feels off ever since the Anubarak pick. You got any thoughts on that one?
Well, you mentioned Rhaegar, and Tempo Storm are okay with playing Stukov on this battleground because of the way that the silence influences the sappers, so I don't think they felt like it was as important for them to immediately get their support along with Malthael. And then the Anubarak to me just seems like they're going along with the ETC ban. They want to limit the warriors. We already know that the warrior state of superstars is sort of in flux because of their recent rule changes. The Tracer ends up being the next ban, and superstars are considering Medivh.
I think that's a very heads-up ban for superstars. If I had ended up losing that last game, I would be like, I'm banning Medivh all day, not letting it go through. And the fact they weren't willing to pick it up, I think, again, means it's a must ban here. Tempo. What do we see from them? Do they go into a False Den? One of the few map situations where a False Den would be a very good pick for them. But what else? They can pick up any support they want, and they don't have to pick it up in any order, but it does make sense to pick it before the next rotation, just so you can flex that last slot into anything and be more reactive. If you do it to supports, you can show too much and be heavily punished by the members of superstars here. I think I'd like to see the Rhaegar over the Uther, but wouldn't mind the Uther either, depending on it, if they pick a DPS that enables the Divine Shield.
Besides June's hero, we are considering Cawthon and Psalm. I was wondering if maybe they would pick a Li Ming, but I think maybe Greymane is more how they'll go, especially with that Abathur, but Abathur Rhaegar.
I didn't think they'd be willing to Abathur this late into this type of situation, because honestly, I feel like it is rather, you kind of punishable by the members of superstars, actually. I mean, if I told you I think the last pick might not be, who do we postulate it to be? Because I feel like it could very much be an Illidan.
For Tempo?
Yeah.
That's absolutely a possibility.
I think it's going to be just 5-man death ball. So now I want, like, I normally want Tyrael, but it doesn't work well with my TAS Lucio whatsoever. Arthas isn't as good and hasn't been working well with it. You want the Medivh. Zeratul doesn't accent the map too well. Those are all the counter momentum heroes you want in these situations. And none of them work well with TAS. That's kind of the backhand that is picking a Tassadar in a map where you don't get enough out of his wave clear. Some of the smaller maps blindly with the intent, not without the intent to commit to a major hyper carry.
Greymane and Arthas.
Illidan? Is that the one?
If not Illidan, it's... Oh. Well, now they can't pick Greymane, so yes. I think Greymane would have been the backup.
Yeah, Greymane would have been the backup. It's a Psalm hero. It could be anything. It could be Kel'Thas.
Psalm can play Malthael if they wanted to change Fury up and put Cattle somewhere else, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to stick to their guns with Fury playing Malthael.
I think they'll mix it up. They'll pick a Li Ming.
Okay.
And they're just going to mix it all up. Cattle will be on the Li Ming. Fury will be on the front line, while Malthael played by Psalm. It's going to be hectic, but they just want resets. They just pew, pew, pew. Get the job done.
Double Li Ming across the sky.
Yeah, and Malthael there to prep it all in. Not enough counter momentum on the side of superstars. Arthas is vulnerable to that high amount of burst. I can believe it. I'm honestly surprised it took that long to get that, come to this conclusion. But it doesn't feel that great either, you know? It
Death Ball.
does have the Abathur behind it.
The Death Ball with Lucio. A noob can try to keep members of Superstars there. Stuns, Burrow Charge, Impale, his Cocoon.
What do you think?
It's a strategy that has been working out for Tempo Storm fairly well so far in part 2.
I don't know which draft I like a lot more. Tempo's is old school, classic. You know, we've seen bits and pieces put together here and there over time. A little bit different for Superstars. The Lucio coming into play, the Arthas, Lucio, Tassadar, Greymane synergy, and then you just have Dahaka side soaking. It's a pretty lethal 4-man. Just can it get enough lockdown and disengage onto the members of Tempo Storm, specifically with the Cocoon for the hard engage, because now the Lucio looks a lot sillier in these type of team fights. What's going to happen is Tormented Souls is hit, and then suddenly Sound Barrier is never going to be an option. And I just don't know if they can get away from the fights proper now and avoid those very cooldown-based heroes that Tempo Storm has.
That's why you build a wall with the Force Wall. Let's get to Game 4. We've got Superstars versus Tempo Storm on Towers of Doom. We'll see you inside.
How many members on the side of Tempo Storm, let's just say you do build that wall, can just jump over it?
Malthael. The new Barak. Pilladin.
Only Rhaegar
Yeah.
can't. Yeah.
Could he...
Feral lunge over?
Can he Feral Lunge over it? All right.
The only way that would be possible is if he Feral Lunged next to a target that was sitting underneath the wall that somehow within the coating, the hitboxes overlap so much that they couldn't figure out a way to make his body stick there, and then somehow threw it over the wall. Like it can happen with hooks sometimes.
And the Malthael clone also. Or Illidan clone. So a lot.
Isolation or adaptation? What do we think Dahaka is going to bust out?
Well, part of that comes down to Touch of Death. At 7.
I mean, that's a pretty good boy.
Probably Isolation.
Probably Isolation. Tass has an option to go either way. No heroic choice variation from Lucio nor Arthas could compensate. Greymane has double viability and nothing stands out too heavily over the other. I might go for the throat this game a little bit more just because usually the kill targets in this game are not going to be a noob, and even a noob's rather vulnerable to go for the throat because he is pretty squishy for a main warrior. But Illidan and Malthael, one of the two's got to die in every team fight, so might see that come out from Superstars. But I'm looking for a way for them to kind of recover because I am concerned about how that's going to go in the team fights in the later stages. And if it does happen, can they make a change?
There's the boop. Psalm's done a ton of damage to Yoda and will take him out with the Abathur hat. The bait is real from Psalm. Now Psalm and June largely unchecked to start bringing down the towers, especially with Caterpillar showing up.
And this is Tempo Storm with an Abathur composition, and they're just bodying the front walls. They're the ones just rotating all over the map and forcing the hand of Superstars. That is not a good look for Superstars on a map like Towers of Doom. And Tempo is just coming out guns blazing. We are about to, I feel like we're already setting the landscape here for what is going to be a game number 5, Superstars. Not much has happened, but just the body language of the rotations here. Tempo's, they're a little upset.
Yeah, whether they're angry or just feel very good about the composition that they got. This has been a style that Tempo's been running more and more. We've asked many members about it, and they just feel like it's sort of dictated from them in the draft or maybe just the meta. They're even going to invade here.
Brushstock comes in, making it 5 versus 4. A disadvantage for Tempo Storm. It's all about the point, though. Sray got a Dark Swarm up in a couple of seconds. They're chasing it down. Tempo's about to lose 4 members.
1, 2.
Icona, he's chasing it down.
And 4 for an invade at the Sappers. Abathur has stolen one of the altars, but unfortunately for him, can't deal with the Dahaka on the other one.
This is the second time we've seen a team in North America pick an Abathur composition and all-in invade over top of a camp without necessarily a default kit or early game advantage. Because Arthas is literally the best level 1 character in the game when it comes to just killing stuff. He slows you all the time. He slows your auto attacks all the time. He's got a hard crowd control, self-sustain. He gets the job done.
Yeah, sounds like a pretty good hero.
Not to dive on top of. And Temple's willing to do it with an Abathur comp. And they aren't the only ones. We've seen it twice in North America. I feel like I'm missing something that's been going on in a trend in the back scenes here in the North American scene.
Well, that invade, unfortunately, has set Tempo Storm behind where they had started with a great early game advantage.
An amazing early game, and now suddenly you're kind of like, is the Abathur going to be a problem? Like, it was so just, oh, this is really, really good, and now you're just kind of, you know?
It's not the worst. They did get the front wall on the bottom. That's a potential place where Abathur can siege later on, especially if there's a double altar phase in one of the upcoming phases. But it has righted for Superstars to be ahead in experience. They're getting to 7 first, and they got 2 of the 3 altars.
And you know who realized that invading's pretty neat after that last? The members of Superstars not going to be able to get there in time. Sray popping out from the shrub there.
They're still going to clear this out right under the noses of Tempo Storm, but Tempo will let it happen thanks to that level 7.
Is it weird that every time I see Dahaka come out of a brush stock like that, sometimes I want like that, like, and it's just like a wild Dahaka.
I don't understand anything about
wild Dahaka.
Oh yes, I do get that.
Calm down. You've played a video game. Congratulations.
Yes, the music though, I did not recognize that.
I think I nailed that key for key there. Note for note. I don't know. 7's here. 10 seconds from the shrine. It's going to be up on mid. This is a little awkward for Tempo. Not only do they fail on the pressure up on bottom, but it's kind of in that middle ground where Abby's not quite at the area where he wants to be, but also giving up objectives isn't the easiest. So they're going to go in. They're going to try and force this 4 versus 5.
That was a fantastic boop. We've got the Circles of Death from Airho and Sray doing a lot of damage, but Airho and Yoda are still fairly low in health. Drag catches Malthael. Fury in trouble. Everyone from Superstars immediately collapsed on him, so there was no far away target to Wraith Strike to and then be able to get the escape. But Superstars aren't done for this fight, neither are Tempo Storm.
Superstars is also one thing that we've seen quite a bit of Lucio being picked up more and more, but they're one of the few teams, they're really understanding how to use this hero. They're actually capitalizing on the mobility and reducing damage and increasing their damage output heavily through that.
The Kona factor.
Yeah, even dropping the boom box down there. Granted, you know, the last game, I immediately was like, well, the sound barrier felt like it could have been a little bit earlier there. So as long as that gets cleaned up, the downtime in between, Iacona is really making work happen there.
Fury was back, but Anub is down. Now he's caught right in the frozen tempest of Airho.
Am I the one who feels like Tempo Storm's getting a little panicked here? In terms of decision making, sending Cattle back into that, again, they're down a level and a half now while they had an advantage with an Abathur composition. Now, I mean, they're losing structures, they're losing in core health. This was by choice.
Yeah, it was soon to go back in when Malthael hadn't quite rotated back. But maybe the panic set in that it was a full level lead, Superstars were getting farther ahead. It was kind of the last time that they could brawl, and they might as well just continually brawl and brawl over and over again while they don't have, while the respawn timers are fairly limited. But it does set them back farther of getting to heroic abilities and catching up here. It does feel that way.
So we'll see what Superstars can do with their 10s, because Superstars is a team that is also known to struggle with failing to push their advantages. Sray able to escape here up on top has got to be very thankful for the situation.
Adaptation over isolation, but no touch of death for Malthael. Fury's loving that mortality.
Urho and friends here up on top. They get a drag onto Cattle. Hat onto Psalm. And the conversion of the bell tower up on bottom. Sray and friends are still willing to take this. They could teleport over this wall. Superstars, tread lightly here. Surprisingly confident considering that front wall has 0 ammo and 3 heroes that can just easily dive over in 2 versus 4.
Yeah, but there's no heroics.
But yeah, you're right. It's just dude potential and doing the math on like what's a fight to take and not take with heroics. It's not as easy as 1 + 1, 2 + 2. But that was close enough here for me to be concerned. Either way, Tempo Storm, they do not try and force. Superstars is comfortable, and it's all about the 10s. Tempo will hit their heroics before this next shrine phase. And now we get to see, you know, what's the comp and build for? What does the Abathur comp look like? They got Metamorphosis out of the Illidan, so no global.
Sadly for Tempo Storm, they can't immediately get into position for this altar. Gives the positional advantage for Superstars. However, they are clearing out the wave and the scarabs from Anubarak. So Tempo Storm actually gets into the altar first.
Is there a realm where Cattle actually thinks that Locust Swarm to kill Urho's ghouls is worth it over the cocoon onto Iacona? He's going for it. he's going to do it. I just don't think that they're going to have enough pressure onto Urho at all. He locks in the Locust Swarm.
And Fury channels the altar.
Invade. Keep in mind, Dahaka is up on the top half of the map. He's going to brush stalk in a couple of seconds. He finds himself a Fury. Nice interrupt there. But Cattle goes in with the Burrow charge, unable to land that one. Tormented Souls is going to be dropped. Army of the Dead. We pop all the heroics here for both teams. Metamorphosis. But first to fall, that is the Anubarak there. Locust Swarm not given the heals needed.
Friend or foes to June, but a grenade or the cocktail seals the deal for Illidan. Now, Coffin Luck and the clones being chased down by Iacona, but Superstars have found an opening for them to start taking down the structures of Tempo Storm. They want to fully do this because of the Abathur. Hey, speaking of the Abathur!
I found him! That's why he came back to bite him in the butt. You know, he's trying to scare him off. Be like, hey, this is where the worm is.
Sadly,
look at the dog instead.
It is a Rhaegar clone, not something as scary as maybe a Greymane clone.
But the Locust Swarm selection here. We talked about in team fights, the Malthael and Lucio interaction and the high value of the Lucio to be able to deal with it, and still committing here to the Locust Swarm. I just feel like I feel like it will be justified if we see a team fight happen to where the sound barrier drops and the fight still looks terrible for Superstars. But I just don't see that happening with the self-sustained death ball comp that they have. As long as Lucio hits 3 or more people with his ult, they have a pretty good fight. You know, again, barring against any major colossal misplay.
And talking about self-sustain, Anubarak used his Locust Swarm at the exact same time as Tormented Souls, and yet Anubarak was the first to fall.
I mean, it's not old Locust Swarm. There's a reason Cocoon kind of rose and rose. Not only did it receive buff on buff on buff on buff over the year that it was seeing 0 play, but then Locust Swarm's sustain got hurt rather severely. Even though it was a semi-counter for a short period of time to deal with Arthas, that's really the only argument I can see. Nobody else is spawning much to, you know, consume those heals.
It did receive a minor buff the same time as the Cocoon nerf set in, but Cocoon has still been, the main thing. It's damage, I think.
Channel started for Dahaka, but the invade here is going to be real. Urho's the focus right now. Psalm concentrated in.
Army of the Dead keeping Urho healthy at the front of the fight. Sound barrier's been used. Tormented Souls has not. They're hoping that they can take down Psalm, who jumps back. Burrow allows for the healing of Srey.
And Tormented Souls, the members of Superstars, but they kite back with the Lucio. That right there is one of the things where I feel like the immediate value, even looking at that situation, you can claim that Lucio was the reason they were able to walk away with that and not sustain any more damage. And even if I could tell you the objective strength of the healing that he got out, a lot of people I feel like they aren't valuing Lucio's mobility and what that does for a team in the healing. And anytime Superstars can display it like that, gotta love it.
And speaking of value on healing, this is the second time we have had a Rhaegar clone over an Illidan or a Malthael clone. Do you know why that is?
I'm going to, well, first of all, ADRD loves to clone Rhaegars all the time. So, and ADRD is pretty much a master when it comes to Abathur. The guy's been playing that since I literally played against him. That's how old school. And I think part of it is because, number one, double supporting. It's pretty neat. It's pretty good. We know that it's effective. You have more damage on a Rhaegar than most. Biting people, getting the bonus scaling through your bite is actually a pretty big chunk. It's naturally pretty good, but it's pretty big if you're an actual clone. And then Illidan is the core of this composition. If he dies, it's a problem. And so without having him alive, or excuse me, when you use the clone, it puts you in a situation where he no longer has somebody to be able to baby him, and he doesn't have the adrenal overload.
Sure.
So if you have to use the clone that'll help keep him alive.
Yeah, that does make sense. We just haven't seen Tempo use Ancestral yet, so I didn't know if maybe they were going to adapt, knowing that Illidan, Psalm's really been able to take care of himself. He and June's been able to take care of both Malthael and Illidan. Yeah. Although having a pocket healer for both does make a ton of sense.
And I also feel like maybe the bonus W between the double offensive frontline between the Anubarak Illidan, a lot of people overlook the W damage, and again, individual scaling for him, stacking it. Because, I mean, think about Rising Storm, when that thing on the first Rhaegar rework, when he was just walking in and like 50%ing everybody on his own with those ticks, like you realize, oh, Rhaegar's damage with that, like even without that talent, is actually rather respectable. And when you add a clone, suddenly it gets weird. Same way when
it gets weird.
And when Diablo gets cloned, because his auto attack damage used to be so very high, or if you clone a Stukov, like your auto attacks are actually something Avala has to be afraid of.
Yeah, because you get that 20% increased ability power and attack damage. So the increase of spell power making Rhaegar an effective damage-dealing machine, but also helping to heal up with the 16 advantage.
Superstars is in a dream scenario here.
Yes.
As Iacona, did he get that channel? He sure did.
10 shots. Immediate boss rotation.
That's going to leave the core of Tempo Storm at 10. They're going to invade. They can do this. If he metas, he can meta. He's going to go in.
He's on the point. Airho goes into Srey. Everyone is here, but Psalm's taking a ton of damage. Ancestral healing starts, and Tormented Souls gets on the point, but so does Sound Barrier.
Healing up the members. Urho's still there, slowing them down. Superstars has done it, Gilly. They hold on. They get the boss, and they kill 3 members of Tempo Storm.
Time to spread out and push every single lane for Superstars. This is momentous. They're 25 to the 10 core health of Tempo Storm with a 3-level lead, 12 kills to 1 against the Deathball comp.
Superstars is looking to make week 3 of part 2, the upset week, man, between Space Station Gaming over Gale Force Esports, and now we're 10 shots away from a 3-1 Superstars over Tempo Storm. I mean, it's their game to lose at this point, Gilly. They have got everything perfectly set up for a win here.
They are rotating down to the bottom to claim that bell tower, start stealing away some of the sappers. They almost have their storm talents, and it's a long cry until Tempo Storm will have their own. There are 2 altars.
Enough for lethal for now, as long as the top bell tower is not converted. No bell tower on the side of Tempo Storm are sitting low enough to be converted over.
Tempo is going to have to fight without 20.
But they're over the camp. They can't do this. Last time they fought in this type of choke, they failed pretty terribly up on boss, but they're going to take it. They go in.
They're fine.
They're putting a lot of focus on the Cattle. He goes down.
Cattle's down. Psalm immediately caught 2 from the team. Srey grabbing up the drag. There's 2 altars for 5 shots each. Superstars sets up for the upset to end all upsets in North America, to take out Tempo Storm as Iacona channels the final altar. GG's.
Superstars has been, again, the most steadily declining team for a long while in the North American scene. And Tempo, they've had their bumps and bruises, they've had their ups and downs, and we know that they're in a bit of a struggle right now, but by no means that I expect that from them. But with Daihu, you know, going out of the way and we getting Srey back, yes, they did perform better, but I didn't think it would be good enough to take out Tempo. That was just... I don't know what's harder to believe. Space Station Gaming over Gale Force? I do actually know. I think it's this one.
It's this one. It is this one.
Because Space Station's shown signs of life, and Gale Force is still new and shows, you know, that they've can be inconsistent, and that's understandable. They're a new team, a new roster. Tempo, rock solid, remaining at the top F. Yes, it's a little bit not the best version of Tempo we've ever seen, but a still very, very good one. And they only ended up winning 1 game. I mean...
What's amazing for Superstars is they have taken their fate back into their own hands.
They have.
They were left wondering if Even in Death could take out Lag Force so that they would stay tied in wins with Lag Force, and then they could rely on games. They not only took the 2 games that they needed, they took 3 games, and they got a series, which means now it is not just on Even in Death. They don't have to rely on another team to seal their fate for the Crucible, and that has got to be the greatest feeling for the member of Superstars, all 5 members of Superstars, especially because they come in with a sub the first 2 weeks. They played with Daihu. They put all their practice, all their focus into those 2 matches with Even in Death and Lag Force, and they couldn't defeat Lag Force. Now they come back. They have 1 week to get things ready with Srey, and they have done really the impossible. This is such a big moment for Superstars. I cannot wait to talk to Iacona. Let's check in with him now. Hey, buddy. Hey, Iacona, congratulations. How are you guys feeling? Oh, no. We can't hear you.
I can hear him, but it's really, really quiet.
Is your mic muted? It's so quiet.
I think it's production. I don't think it's necessarily him, you know, because we can hear him. It's just really quiet.
Yeah. Okay, try now. Yeah, if you yell, I think we can hear you. I'm willing to make it happen. I want to hear from you. Oh. Okay. Hey, Kona, we're going to try it again. We're going to reset the call. Hopefully you heard me before. I just want to hear from my friend.
I just like, hello from the... That's all I could think of. You both touching on the glass, and it's just like so close, but yet so far.
He said it was kind of a shock and then some other things,
yeah, he did.
which I would expect is the case.
It was probably a bit of a shock. Kona, man. I'm sorry, that just had me going. You tried so hard, and the energy was there. Everybody's excited. We're going to hear from superstars after legitimately the biggest upset we've ever seen. And it's just, and Icon is just this baby voice. His little ant voice.
What a week. What happened this week, guys?
I don't know, man. What did happen? Does anybody at home know?
What a crazy
I'll bring up my chat right now, which obviously has a lot of useful information here.
Let's try it now. Hello, Icona?
Can you hear me?
We did it.
Yeah, all right. All right, so start over again. How are you guys feeling?
I'd say it's we're a little astonished, to be honest. Like, we wanted to win, obviously, going into this, but I don't really know how obtainable we thought it was. But we got the win, which is going to really help us. Like I said before about pushing us not in Crucible range and actually getting us into the playoffs is actually a really big deal for us. And also, like I said in the pregame interview, Tempo Storm's kind of a coin flip. So I guess we won that coming into it today. They didn't quite seem so good, so we lucked out on that as well.
Can you talk us a little bit about the Battlefield of Eternity choice? 'Cause that's not a normal battleground you guys choose.
No, it's not a normal battleground, but we've been having some success on it lately, and we also felt like it'd be a good matchup into Tempo Storm.
Yeah, it set you guys up one game, and then you got the second. I'll send you over to Dread for some questions.
I mean, how much of this does come down to the Stray factor? Because I think that has got to be everybody at home's biggest focus, right? Is that he was gone with Daihu and the subbing going in and then coming out and then having this. Yes, Tempo Storm maybe not the best day coming out from them, and you guys playing very, very well. But would you say it was that or just everybody as a unit played better today?
I'd say it's more of a combination of everyone. Maybe in individual games you had specific people playing better, but overall in the series, I'd say we all really showed up and we're all playing really well, Trey included. So it was just a really good day for us, I'd say.
Let's say I'm a Superstars fan. Not saying I'm not, but, you know, unbiased completely. Looking towards next week, just curious, can I expect, like, the same level of performance coming out from you guys? Or do you expect it to be still kind of a rocky road, still trying to find your guys' self? Or is this, you know, the beginning of a new Superstars?
I'd say it's the start of the beginning of a new Superstars. We're still trying to find our identity. We've been changing things up, and this seemed to obviously have some success. So we're going to continue down this route of how we set up like shot calling and roles and everything, draft, like all of that, and then see how it takes us to the next week. But like every beginning, there's ups and downs. So like I'd like to always just keep going up and up, you know, but sometimes it's not always the case. So just got to try my best and put the best foot forward for next week.
Well, that's it for me. But again, huge congratulations, Iacona.
Yeah, Iacona, you guys, even your growth from Team Freedom and your synergy together as a unit to this series was astounding. So huge congrats to you. You guys played amazingly. Your Lucio was awesome. We were loving watching that too. So before I let you have the floor for shoutouts, any thoughts on your match versus Space Station next week?
We're going to win. And it's going to be good.
Nice. Short and sweet. I like it. Shoutouts?
Shoutouts to my team, of course, but especially Yoda for actually not picking me Rhaegar sometimes. It's been a lot of fun having to get to play some other heroes. Shoutouts to the rest of the team as well. And shoutouts to everyone tuning in and watching us play. Hopefully you guys come next week as well to watch us against Space Station. And then shout-outs to you guys as well for coming here every day, casting all of our games, and putting up with us.
Oh, it's been fun. Thank you, Iacona. Congrats again.
All right, thank you.
Well, we started the weekend with an upset, and we ended the weekend with an upset. How fitting is that? Let's take a look at the standings and see the result. of this
upset
weird,
sandwich.
crazy upset sandwich of a weekend.
It's an
Great
upset
job,
sandwich.
Dread. What do we see from the standings?
You know, there's some numbers. There's some names.
You are nailing this.
Ultimately,
Superstars.
It is going to be Superstars out of Crucible range. Now, finally, overtaking the members of Lag Force. We've got Roll20 sitting at the very top. Gale Force was bumped on down. There's actually been a lot of motion in these standings over the past 2 days.
There has. And you know, it's weird because last time we had a part 2 of a phase, it wasn't as much.
No.
We were watching a team for forever, Superstars, in fact, forever try to overtake B-Step.
This
is way different.
It took like 6 weeks, it felt like. It was like, can Superstars do it? No. And it was like, can they just? And no. And then by the very end, we finally was like, oh, they managed to do it. But this one, far more active. Who knows if that's for better or worse? That's kind of the beauty of the format that we have this year. There's not really a precedent set, so a lot of these kind of trends, nobody knows, is that good, is that bad? All we know is we got Heroes of the Storm.
And we know that everyone is using the constant competition as a means of growth. And for Superstars today, that paid off in dividends. Next Friday, we've got more Heroes of the Storm coming at you with Week 9, the second to last